I've got to tell you what just happened to me. I hope I can tell it right, but oof. Normally I wouldn't even bother because, man, I don't like getting mad at people in the food industry. I know no matter what, they're crappy places to work. I don't want to be there. They don't want to be there, so I'm not going to bust their chops about that. Why add to the burden, you know? So my tolerance and my patience for that sort of thing, and then, stuff happening, messing up orders, maybe even crappy attitudes, man, it's not that big a deal. Whatever. Just what you can do to get through the day, I understand. I've been there. But I've got to tell this story. Sorry, random guy. So, let me get my facts straight. My wife and I wanted pizza tonight. So she ordered pizza, and I went to go get pizza. It is such a mundane thing, but this is apparently the fulcrum on which the entire story pivots, so here's what was on that pizza. The entire pizza is supposed to have pepperoni and Canadian bacon on the entire thing, alright? But on one side, it's supposed to have sausage. On the other side, it's supposed to have green bell peppers and mushrooms. Not a big deal. Although I think you will see why things went awry later in the story. So I go to the pizza place, I grab the pizza, I get in the car, I'm driving home. But on the way home, I remember I have not checked the order. I've tried to get into the habit lately of checking the order because in the very recent past, we've gotten a lot of orders that weren't made correctly from all over the place. So it's just smart for me to do now. So at the light, I check the pizza, and sure enough, it's not made correctly. One side is just Canadian bacon and pepperoni. The other side is bell peppers, mushrooms, and sausage. It's a slightly confusing order. I knew immediately where they went wrong, and it was not that big a deal to me. I had nowhere to be. It was the weekend. I did not mind waiting on a new pizza to be made. So I drive back. I'm not mad. I'm actually in a decent mood. And I walk through the door and I tell the guy at the counter, because I'm a millennial and I'm just apologizing for every single thing I do. Look, everything's cool. I'm not mad, but the pizza wasn't made right. Apparently that's important too, so pay attention to that. So I tell the guy how it's supposed to be made. I show him the receipt, and he's lovely about it. Like, neither of us are upset. We're being perfectly jovial with each other. He even admits, like, oh my gosh, I'm the one that made the pizza. Now I see why I was so confused. I get it now. I'm so sorry. I will make your pizza, and it's free of charge, of course. And I'm like, I understand, man. It's cool. I'm not mad. I totally get it. And I'm not harping on anybody. It's totally fine. And that should have been the end of it. So this guy goes to the back. He's starting on my pizza. And then someone else speaks up. There's this big angry voice from the back, I'm assuming was the manager, wanting to know what the hell was going on. So the guy who made our pizza is telling the manager what happened. And the manager is not having it. I don't know what part of the story he's having trouble with, but he's just not getting it. And while I can't hear what he's saying half the time, at least one time he says in a very angry tone, just tell him to effing turn it around. That will also be important. So I step back up to the counter because apparently we ain't done. And as I'm doing so, this very big, very angry individual comes up, plants both hands on the counter and says, what seems to be the problem here? So again, not mad, not upset, a little worried, a little weirded out, but I explain to him what's going on. I tell him the exact same thing I told his employee. I show him the receipt. I tell him exactly, basically verbatim, what I had just told. And he's just not getting it. And the best I can figure is that when I told him and the other person that the pizza hadn't been made right, he got it in his head that I wanted one of the sides of the pizza to be on the right and the other side to be on the left. And I wanted the pizza to be remade in order to reflect that. Which is insane just to even say with my mouth. And then in this very showy, operatic way, this man picked up this pizza and said, "Sir, there's no way I'm going to remake this pizza for you. There's no right side to a pizza. I mean, look." And he switched it around and said, "Look, right is left is right, up is down. Magic." It takes a lot to get me upset. And it takes even more for me to demonstrate to you that I'm upset with you. Because most of the time, it's just not worth it. I also know I'm not that intimidating of a person. But I was mad. Like, instantly. And I think that guy saw it in that instant. And regardless of whether or not he was intimidated or not, I could see that he'd made a mistake and he knew it. So calmly, for the third time now, I told this man how this pizza was supposed to be made. I showed him on the receipt how it was supposed to be: pepperoni and Canadian bacon on the whole thing, sausage on one side, and green bell peppers and mushrooms on the other side. And in a calm, as calm a voice as I could possibly muster, I told him, "Can you see how this pizza is not made correctly? How it is not the way that I have described it to you?" And this man underwent an almost instantaneous transformation. He was all apologies. He was blaming the receipt, the computer. He's like, "Oh my God, sometimes it comes out weird. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. We will remake it immediately." And normally, I'm saying stuff like, "It's fine, cool, whatever. It's not that big a deal." But I didn't say anything like that. I sat down and I waited for the anger to subside. So our pizza finally comes out. It is made correctly. He is still apologizing. He is also giving us the pizza that was made incorrectly, because I not gonna lie, would eat some of that pizza. And then he offers, he's like, "Could I get you anything else for the inconvenience? Can I get you some cheese packets or some chili peppers or something?" I don't even really remember what he said. So I stopped to answer him, but before I could do that, he's like, "I'll even sweeten the deal." He runs over to the drink station and he starts looking through stuff. And he says, do you like grape soda? You like orange soda?" And I'm thinking, oh, free soda. So I tell him I'll take a Pepsi. And this guy learned 0 lessons. He turns around and more or less snaps at me and says, "I'm not trying to get rid of those. I'm not trying to get rid of Pepsis. None of the Pepsis are out of date." My guy, you are now just yelling at a customer you have already upset. And your half-assed way of apologizing is giving him flat, tepid, out-of-date soda. I just kind of stood there and stared at him like... And he sighed dejectedly, and he gave me my 2-liter of Pepsi, and he said, I'm sorry, you're right, I'm sorry. Have a good night." And I left, and I had pizza and free Victory Pepsi. Again, I'm not one for giving food workers a hard time. And I'd even like to give this guy a benefit of a doubt. But what kind of mind space you gotta be in to not just pull that stuff once, but twice on the same guy? Moral of the story, be nice to people, please. Even if they're people who would never say anything back. Because the universe sometimes has a way of punishing you for stuff like that anyway. Like embarrassment.